Greetings, everyone, through here. Welcome to the Demo Hub. Welcome to another exciting episode. Today, we have a very fascinating guest, Tarush Agarwal. Tarush is the founder and CEO of 5X. 5X is helping every company turn into a data company. Tarush is a former WeWork and ex Salesforce. He writes prolifically about the modern data stack. Tarush, welcome to the show.
Hey, Fru, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here and hopefully add some value to your listeners.
Oh, that's awesome. Really, really glad to have you. And we typically ask these questions, Tarush. I think for you, it's going to be pretty unique. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Bali at the moment.
Oh, that's awesome. It must be, I'm guessing, nice weather out in Bali at this time of the year.
It is beautiful. Rainy season just got over. I'm calling from Uluwatu, right on the cliff, and I've been very, very fortunate. Actually, it's a funny story. I came to Bali on a 10-day vacation and I landed in Bali, and that was day one of COVID a few years ago. And I got to spend a few years in Bali, and it's just become a second home for me. So I get to spend a few months every year over there.
Wow. I've heard of many COVID stories, but that's probably going to be up there. Really cool. Tarush, for the audience that are not familiar with 5X, can you help orient a little bit about what 5X is? Go
Sure.
as much into the details, the background of what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me in the show again. I'll just briefly introduce myself. I've been fortunate to spend my career in the data space. I got to be a data engineer very, very early on at Salesforce.com in sort of 2011 before a lot of the companies in the Valley had a data team. Most recently, led data for WeWork. So, been very sort of narrow on this thing called sort of data and on one level deeper on what we call the modern data stack, right? And the modern data stack is really the third iteration of data. It's the one built on top of warehouses. It's the one which has become mainstream. you know More and more companies every year are realizing that you need to invest in data. Why is that? And that's in some ways because digital marketing is no longer a competitive advantage, right? Every company is using digital marketing in terms of go to market. The next alpha really comes from data. That becomes the next competitive advantage. So businesses sort of seek this competitive advantage. It makes sense that they want to go invest in getting started with data. One of the problems is that the data space is becoming mainstream, but all of the vendors in the space are really selling car parts. What does that mean? So, the analogy which we use is, imagine walking into Honda, and instead of selling you a Honda Civic, they sell you an engine, and you have to build your own car. That's really what the buying experience looks like today for most customers. So they have to go buy a warehouse, they have to buy BI tools, and they have to go stitch all of these different tools together. Even for your simplest use cases like sort of data reporting, you still need to buy an ingestion provider, a data modeling tool, a warehouse, a BI tool. How can a space go mainstream when, in order to build dashboards, you need to go sign four different tools? So, what 5x really is we're a layer on top of all of these tools. There are about 1,150 different data vendors across 30 different categories. 5x is a neutral layer on top of all of these different tools. And based on the company's industry, use case, size, budget, we can recommend you the stack which makes sense for you. And then, even better, in a few clicks, we can actually deploy this stack, giving you an end-to-end data platform based on your use cases without speaking to sales teams, sort of figuring out what tools make sense for you, doing POCs, signing enterprise contracts. All of that, which can take months and even years in large companies, you can do on minutes on 5x.
That absolutely makes sense. If I was reiterate that, like you said eloquently, data is a differentiator for organizations. Teams are waking up to that. And there is complexity for realizing the value of data because of the proliferation of the modern data stack, as we all know, with new tools coming in here and there almost every day. Essentially, what you're doing is and this is just me thinking about it, to be the modern data stack on top of the data stack to help reduce that complexity and help teams get value out of data really quickly. Is that a fair summarization of it?
Exactly right. The space is so fragmented, right? Like, we are in the data space and we can barely keep up with all of the new tools coming in. This is an impossible problem for customers. So we remove the guesswork, right? We're not a vendor who is incentivized to go sell their product. We're a neutral layer on top of all of these different vendors. And that positions us to actually help you find the best tool for your use case, industry, size, vertical. And then we take care of managing that entire process for you. And the end product is that, on day one itself, you're focused on using your data platform and using your data to get an ROI or to generate insights instead of spending all of your time focused on the infrastructure. Just
Okay.
like, just like Amazon Web Services is a single point, if you're building a product or you're building software, you sort of go to Amazon Web Services and it's a single place you go to across all of your different software engineering needs. And Amazon doesn't get rid of software engineers, but it makes software engineers way more efficient. Before Amazon, we had to worry about deploying our own sort of tools and managing our servers and 500 other things. And Amazon just made this very easy. So in that same way, 5x makes your data team way more efficient, so that your data team can focus on the ROI on day one without having to worry about any of the infrastructure deployments and sort of different tools or services you might need.
Okay. So is it fair to think about it as a managed service plus more in terms of providing managed services and bringing all of those tools together and making it work, plus the value added for industry specific domains that you might bring to, say, retail, fintech, e-commerce, and such? Can you maybe touch a little bit on that?
Exactly. We're a platform, right? So we're not service based. We're more platform based.
Okay.
But again, for our larger mid market enterprise customers, it would be more of a white glove onboarding where we would come in, have conversations, understand your use cases, your industry, what are some of the capabilities you're looking at, how big are your teams, even your budgets, and then based on that, being able to identify the tools which would best serve your needs, and then our platform in clicks, we would be able to set up all of these different vendors, and sort of really giving you a fully integrated platform, and also a single point of contract, a single point of contact, a single single bill, sort of across all of these different tools.
Oh, that's really good. I could see the value in that. And who is the audience for this? Do you see a point where the data engineers are getting obsolete? Or is this more from the executives that want simplicity and want to invest in a platform like this to get to the business value quicker than having to manage a complex infrastructure?
Sure. So 5x is built for data teams, right? You can see my screen. What you see over there is sort of, this is 5x using 5x. So this is our, us dog fooding our entire stack. So we're built for data teams, right? So when you basically come in here, you can see very quickly all of my different vendors are represented by tiles. On Fivetran, my ingestion tool, here are all the different data sources I'm pulling from. I can change my frequency. I can sync now. I see my data warehouse over here. I have a SQL editor on top of this, which if I sign in, I can go run sort of queries. Here's DBT. I can see my jobs and when they last ran, and I can rerun a job directly from 5x. So this becomes the home of your data team, right? It makes your data teams more efficient. I can flip into an architecture view. I can always go directly into the vendors if I want. I can always log in, but on a day-to-day basis, I should be able to do everything from 5x. Once I want to manage my users, I don't need to manage access control across 10 different tools. I have a single place to do this. So I can choose what access someone gets across all of these different tools. Having a single digital identity, what Amazon calls IAM and role-based access control. When we think about growing or expanding, at the moment we have 15, 20 of the data vendors, but we're going to open up our APIs, and by the end of this year, any data vendor will be able to integrate with us. In that case, you'll have one-click integrations, any configuration which the vendor support, we support on 5x. And then there's like one more piece I want to show you, which is utilization. So we think FinOps and cost optimization is becoming very important. Sort of this year, we think it's going to be one of the sort of main trends. And in a fragmented world, it becomes very difficult to manage spend across multiple tools. So, we're really investing in what we call the utilization and cost optimization suite, where you'll be able to go into your spend, figure out what your most expensive queries are, what dashboards do they power, who are BI users who have access but actually never logging in, what are tables you're ingesting but never using, to actually help you optimize your spend as a product to basically bring down your cost of your platform from anywhere from 10 to 30%.
Okay, that is really powerful. So we jumped into this for the average user that is looking at getting started with 5x. Essentially,
Yeah.
you landing into a simple landing page, you sign in, and you have a single contractual agreement with 5x as opposed to potentially 5, 10
Exactly.
with the
Yeah.
different vendors.
So we have two different types of sort of segments we go after, right? One of them is mid-market enterprise. These are companies who are now want to invest in data. Again, I said there are only 5,000 companies in the world using the modern data stack, right? So very much at its infancy. So over there, it's more of a white glove treatment. We help set this up. We can provide you with managed services to help you build your dashboards or train your data teams or help you hire data teams. So that's really for like a bigger stage company. For an earlier stage company, more product led growth, more self service sign up. So if you're a startup, if you're building your data platform from scratch, it should be a no brainer to use 5x. We have a free tier, which we don't charge anything. So, the only thing which you're charged is the list price of all of these vendors. So it would be the same thing as going to Snowflake, going to Hevo Data, going to DBT, going to like Metabase or Preset and sort of signing up. But over here, everything is stitched out of the box for you. So if you
Uh,
go to 5x, if you sign up with an account, here's what the first screen would look like. I can build from a template. I have a simple analytics sort of template for earlier stage companies loaded over here. I can go get set up. I can use our free tier, and very quickly any configuration which the vendor supports, we support. So I want to deploy out of North America on Snowflake. I need standard. I want to deploy it on Amazon. I'm going to pick US East Coast, which is the most common. On DBT, this is just a sort of cost estimator based on number of seats. And on Snowflake and on BI, I can pick how many seats I want. I want to deploy it again across the US East Coast. This would be so actually this hasn't been updated, but so this would change. Our free tier would be the exact same cost as the list price of the vendors. So it truly becomes a free tier. It should be a no-brainer to build on top of 5x, because once I start building, sort of once I click this button, it's actually going to provision all of these tools, configure all of these tools, and once this is done, you will see a user interface like this. The only difference would be empty, and then you can go get started by adding your first connectors, and you have a working data platform in minutes instead of months, and you're not paying an extra dollar. So it should be a no-brainer to go build on top of 5x. So that's the two audiences which we serve, and who are the users on 5x. Ultimately, for a smaller stage company, you don't even need to have a dedicated data team. Very often we see companies where software engineers, sort of because we make this so easy, even a non-trained data person, a software engineer, is able to go in and build on top of 5x.
that is very powerful, and just how simple it is to get up and running. To tell you, getting a data stack in what 5 clicks, like you showed,
Yep.
it's not something you see too often. And that just kind of got me thinking. Normally, I would ask this at the beginning, but 5x, what is the 5 in 5x?
That's a great question. So early on in my professional development journey, my uncle took me for a seminar by a guy called Robin Sharma, whose work I really resonated with. And Robin used to say this one thing, which is like, there's no point of doing something in life if you're not aiming to be the best in the world. And if you're not looking to 5x something, then what's the point of even doing it? And I'm not sure if it was just during that one seminar, but he sort of said it, and it had a lot of impact on me, this idea of like creating exponential value. And while naming the business, that really stuck with me. I wanted it to focus on, the whole point of data is to give you exponential value in your business. So I thought the name 5x for a data company made a ton of sense, and it aligned with my values.
Okay, 5x exponential value from data. Pretty powerful. Given how simple you've made it, and we're going to go a little bit on the technical side, what then do you see as the roadblock for teams realizing value with data? Is it obviously, if the tool is this simple, is it then the people and the processes, or what is it that then teams really have to differentiate and focus on if the tool part of it has been taken care of?
Sure, I look at it like a pyramid, right? And like, and over time, in building pyramids, you build a strong foundation which you can build on top, right? So the data pyramid today looks like, building a data platform. On top of that, you have data modeling. On top of that, you have reporting, and then ML, AI. That's kind of the sort of pyramid, right? I think what we're doing is we're commoditizing the sort of bottom parts of the pyramid, right? Like there's no longer need to go hire dedicated data platform engineers. A platform like 5x would be able to do all of this for you in clicks. Spend more of your time hiring data scientists, data engineers, data analysts who focus on the application of data, and who focus on helping you extract value for data. So, we're removing half of the equation, which is infrastructure, so that we manage that for you, which allows you to focus more on the other. I think naturally there is a lot of context. So if businesses don't have that initially, that's why we have a managed services team. We're also now partnering with a lot of the consultancies globally. So we'll have this thing called the SI store, or the service integrator store, which will be a list of all the consultancies. And again, based on your industry, your size, your budget, where you need help with, you'll be able to find consultancies on 5x who can help you implement. And what's really cool is our platform will give them access to your data. Whatever they do, we'll audit, because it's all happening through 5x. And then your billing will also happen through 5x. So we'll not only become a single layer on top of all of the data vendors, we'll also become a layer on top of the data consultants, and help you identify, if you do need extra help and support, help you identify the best consultancies based on your use cases.
And are those consultants that you then hire and train to have on the pool, or is that with the
Yeah.
relationship with those
These will be like, all of the, data consultancies. So, in America today, you have consultancies like Brooklyn Data, Data Climate, Data Culture, Focus KPI, just to name a few, right? So imagine a world where all of these consultancies are on our ecosystem, and you can see what they specialize in, what their price points are, their reviews, and based on that, you can go pick them. We'll have our own consultancy, which is just, what we call our managed services, which is really integrated into our product. We think it's pretty cost effective, very fast to work with, uh, great for, core analytics use cases. Our consultancy becomes one of the consultancies on the platform, but we want to give customers the flexibility on choosing based on their needs. So you'll be able to work with any consultancy on top of 5x.
Oh, okay.
And many companies won't need consultancy. They'll be like, we have the expertise, we know how to do this, we have large data teams, but we no longer want to manage our own data platform. We no longer want to hire data platform engineers. In that case, we're going to manage our platform on 5x, and we're going to, we have the expertise to go build on top of this ourselves. And that's okay too.
Cool. Again, I always think of this of people, processes, and tools. And I love your analogy of the Maslow hierarchy. Take care of the foundation and then let the data scientists and the more expensive resources by the hour focus on the unique challenges of the business and the industry. Can you touch a little bit about training? Because the modern data stack is always evolving. New tools come and go, like you echoed in the beginning. How is that handled once the company has architected their first layer and things have to change? Maybe GBT is not going to be the flavor of tomorrow and something else comes into play. What are some of your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so that's an area which we focus a lot on, right? Like, for starters, we produce a lot of content, we have really good documentation. We do, speak at a lot of shows just on, where we think the space is going, what tools sort of make sense for different companies. Very early, but in the next few months, we will be launching this thing called the 5x Masters program to train non-technical people. It's not a technical program, but really on what's the value of data, what is your go-to-market dashboard, what is your engagement dashboard, what are some of your finance dashboards, what do they really look like. So that's meant for PM, CEOs, business stakeholders, and understanding the value of data. And then lastly, we also, as I said earlier, have a managed services unit. Businesses are interested in us coming and training their technical teams on, best practices on how to build, or potentially we have this bundled in our, higher tiers, but what we call dedicated solutions engineering or white glove treatment is where we're able to spend time with you, understand your use cases, and then based on that, help you think through what does the future of this look like to remain relevant inside a quickly evolving data landscape.
Okay. And if we just step back a little bit on a higher level, what is a North Star that you see in the industry as it evolves and it moves? What is that holy grail for, and touch on it for the SMBs, the startups,
Sure.
as well as your more complex and rich enterprises that have decades of practices and that muscle to
Yeah,
change is not necessarily there? What is the vision on that spectrum, and how do you see that holy grail playing out?
that's a great question, and something which we think about all the time. I think the value of data is really to, it's data might have its own performance KPIs individually, but in general, the North Star is always to enable the business to do what the business wants to do, right? So it's understanding what are the high level objectives of the business, and data is an enabler for that. So I think standalone data doesn't have its own North Star. Those North Star metrics would just be on, more operational and more performance of what are the percentage of ad hoc requests, can everyone answer questions self-service, what are the insights which we're driving to the business. So more on like, are we doing a good job in answering the needs of the business? But the actual North Star is data enables the business to do whatever it wants in a more efficient manner.
That's a very powerful North Star. I think every organization would definitely stand behind that. Another question as you went through the North Star that came to mind was, how are the tools themselves are being receptive to this? Is it more of a competitive posture you're seeing, or is it more collaborative? So thinking a stack that might include Fivetran and DBT, Airflow, Snowflake. Would Fivetran be, and sales team going out there be more on the competitive side, or are they more of an embracing side with this because you help them get utilization from their tools?
Exactly right. So, we become a sales channel for vendors, and
Hmm.
every vendor is trying to grow their business in a hyper competitive landscape. So, being on 5x means you get more business. you know we become a sales channel which is extremely low touch. So low touch in the way that you are not deploying massive sales teams. It's extremely high engagement. Once you're on 5x, we're not just giving you one car part, we're giving you the entire platform. So the ROI customers get from their platforms are much higher just being on 5x. So that's why a lot of these vendors are sort of super receptive to sort of working with us.
Okay, so a synergistic relationship there. This is very fascinating. I haven't seen growth and the evolution of the modern data stack. I think everyone, most of the audience will probably agree that simplicity in terms of adoption and getting to value is always much appreciated. Being on this journey is refreshing to see. For the audience, how can they find you? How can they get started too if they wanted to? We're gonna leave links to all of this in the description below.
Yeah, absolutely. You can go sign up on 5x.co, make a free account, go build your first data platform. You can also book time directly from us from our website. So, if you prefer to be given a demo and sort of taken through a platform and also potentially help you think through what platform makes most sense, you can easily book a call. And if you want to reach me, you can find me on email t@5x.co. So that's the shortest email you can ever have. Also on Twitter at just my name, which is Tarush, or LinkedIn. So, available on all of the usual channels. Would love to hear from you. And if 5x can help you through, thank you for having me on the show.